Well, namaste and happy Holi. You can see what Sangeeta did to me earlier this evening, and so I'm delighted to be here with my friends and right honorable Radhivas who are meeting for the first time. While Baroness Prasha was speaking, and she's speaking of groping for identity being a perfect opportunity for creative thinking and for rising above oneself, I couldn't help but remember a quote by Swami Vivekananda. And he said something to this effect. He said, "Tell me how much you have suffered and I will tell you what you're worth." So I remember that because I think sometimes people think it's a fault, but I think it's a gift that I have, that every time there's a challenge or an adversity, I look at it as a test from the divine. And I think that if I pass the test, then he gives me a tick mark and I move ahead. And if I fail it, then maybe I go one step down. So I think I do agree that adversity is welcome. I haven't been in the UK for a very long time. I've been here for about 3.5 years. But it's been a great learning process with a lot of wonderful things, a lot of challenges, a lot of joys and a lot of pain, I must say. But what my personal experiences as well as what I've seen around me, I've noticed the lives of women, Asian women, but coming from different walks of life, from different strata, from different backgrounds. And I think I'll just speak a little bit of what I've personally experienced within me and around me. Much of my experiences are centered around what I've seen with my friends in the House of Lords or in London, but more than that, women in Northern Ireland, because that's where I live. I think the difference is really between people who were born here or people who came here a long time ago when they were very young and kind of merged with society and have found their rhythms over time. My experience, especially with a lot of women in Northern Ireland, is that there's a whole group of people who came here, say, 40 years ago, from India. So I'm talking about a group that came from India. Now, India 40 years ago was very different from what India is today. And women in India today are very different from women who were in India 40 years ago. So I found this very interesting difference in sense of identity between how I felt about myself as a woman and how a lot of women, even of my age or just slightly older, who were here for a long time, felt about themselves and felt about their role with respect to society, with respect to what they can do and what they can't do, with respect to how they can use their time vis-a-vis how their husbands can use their time, vis-a-vis what they can learn and what they can't learn, vis-a-vis technology, and is technology meant for a woman at all except for maybe just managing some emails back and forth. So there are a lot of things that I found were not to do so much with the age of a woman as they were to do with how the woman viewed herself, what did she feel about her own identity in changing times. And that really was my struggle because it made me look at my own sense of identity. Because I have an identity which is having spent 46 years in India. And then I'm rebuilding my identity or reflecting on my own identity as a person who is looking at various bodies or communities or kinds of women in Britain or in the United Kingdom. alienation, I think, happens. One, in fact, I just had a very large congress in India, again, on education culture. And why I'm talking about education culture is because education is not about academic text. Education is about how you develop as a human being through life, through your learnings, wherever they come from. And one of the things that we spoke about, again, and reflecting on what Usha ji just said, is about Lost in Translation, the book. We had some very, very interesting talks at the Congress where people actually brought this idea of language forward and said that one of the reasons for India's backwardness is forcing the English language upon them. Because you do not bring it in with the pride of your own identity, with the pride of your own language. But at a certain point, even if you've grown up in a village speaking Hindi or Bhojpuri or some other language, at a certain level, you suddenly say now you must pass the defense exam in English or the medical exam in English, otherwise you're not valid as a human being. And I think women here also, as she said, face similar problems with language. You don't feel confident, you don't feel you can speak in public. Certain people, there's an overcorrection. I find certain people feel ashamed to speak in their own language. And they speak only in English to be able to fit with what they think is a global society. And I think that's a fault with identity. Because if you try to fit into a place which you think is more valid than your own identity or your rooted identity, and if you lose your own language for the sake of speaking the language of the country you're living in better, then I think that itself is a problem with identity. And I think there is a struggle here. This is my observation, especially in Northern Ireland. People are struggling with language as an identity. Those who have learned the English language think it's okay to not bother about the Hindi language, even if they knew it as children. They've started giving it up. They feel ashamed to speak it, and I think that's a problem. I also think it's a problem, and here I come to what Nirmala just said. She spoke about the fear of success, and I think that's a very valid point, because some of us have grown up probably with parents who were very encouraging when we were young to learn, to grow, to develop what we have within ourselves. And when you come out into the world and when you meet people, when you meet men in workspace or personal space, the very things that they like about you, your talent, your ability to do things, may become a problem if they find that those very abilities make you visible, make you a public figure, make you, in perhaps their perception, some may be better than them in some ways, and that can become a problem. There can be various sanctions, because I found, the people I know very closely, there have been cases. I found, even in the community, I found things like women saying to other women, "Why are you upset that your husband slapped you? What's the problem if your husband slaps you?" That's quite common in our community, So there are certain, now these are things that I would associate with identity. I mean, a woman identifies with certain physical attitudes of men as being okay, because it's come down through the years. So if 100 women have accepted that in your society, why can't you accept it today? How does that make you unequal? So I think these answers are glaring at us, but there is a fear, and I've always said this for many years. Somebody asked me many years ago, when I was shifting, I was transiting in life from one life to another, and they said, if you leave all this and try to start something new, try to start a new life, what is it do you think What do you have in you that you can just let go of everything and start a new life? What is your talent? What do you have in you? And I thought for a moment and I said, I don't know what I have in me, but I have one thing, and that's courage. And that's all I need. Because I've seen women with so much talent, with so much intelligence, just not being able to move, to do anything at all with their lives because they lack courage. They feel insecure financially. They feel insecure about their children. They feel insecure about being without a partner. There's a whole world of insecurities that blocks our forward movement. In fact, just 4 days ago, I got a call from a radio in India saying, oh, you're such a beacon of light for women, why don't you speak a few words? And I was wondering, when did I become a beacon of light? I don't even know. But, well, I just spoke what I felt. But the point is, we should not be scared to be who we are, just like Valerie just said. And if we are not scared to be who we are, I remember what Rabindranath Tagore said. It's my favorite song, which I've heard ever since I was 6 years old, because I was born in Calcutta. And it's in Bengali. It says, Jodi tomar dak shune keu na ashe tobe. Jodi tomar dak shune keu na ashe tobe aka cholole. So it means having heard your call, if nobody walks along, walk alone. And that's what I would say to every woman. At least walk alone in your thoughts and your manifestation, even if you want to be with your partner. So these are just a few of my thoughts. Thank you.